Alright, what's going on guys? Nizu here. Today I want to show you the Art of BioShock Infinite by Irrational Games and published by Dark Horse Books. This is a 185-page hardcover book full of production designs and concept illustrations from the game. This is the front cover. You have that iconic full rendered shot of the Songbird and Elizabeth, which is one of my favorite pieces of work by Rob Waters. This is the spine and the back cover. This artwork was etched in my brain after watching the first trailer for BioShock Infinite back in 2010. This woman casually sweeping up her store, oblivious to the fact that it's engulfed in flames. Eerie. This book does have a dust cover, and on the front of the book itself you have a sketched or inkwork version of the Songbird and Elizabeth in gold. This hardcover is impressive, not only because of the artwork, but it also has some texture to it. Around the outside of the cover it's smooth and a bit worn, and then as you move towards the middle it has this cracked texture, like old paint before it starts to chip off the wall. I've never seen this texture on a book before. It's very unique. So let's get into the book itself. You've got a nice design on the inside cover. The pages themselves are thick. The print is high quality, very typical of Dark Horse. You have a introduction by Ken Levine, who is the creative director and co-founder of Irrational Games. You are more than welcome to pause that so you can read it. I'm sure you will find it very enlightening, just as I did. The first chapter is on finding Colombia. It's a collection of early concepts, probably before the game even had a title. You've got concepts of the city itself and what it may have looked like at the turn of the century, and other work that best represents Colombia and its inhabitants when they were simply an idea. This section really gives you a sense of how drastic things change and evolve during the course of development. These are mechanical watchmen, and these are concepts of what might happen to someone if they traveled through a tear. Players might encounter alternate reality versions of the same character and see the realities merge in the faces of their enemies. Brilliant idea, hideous visualization. You've got some more enemies. Here we have a human enemy type that eats the dead and turns into a monster with claws. These are early concepts of an enemy that can manipulate the dead, which would later lead to BioShock Infinite's Siren. This is a magician-type enemy inspired by Sander Cohen from BioShock. And these are early sketches of a potential enemy nicknamed Claw Daddy, which evolved into the Handyman. And here we have, this is an early exploration of how Vigors might be used in the game. These concepts are great. They look like mosquitoes. Very interesting idea. And this is an enemy called the Enhancer, who would support other enemies from a distance by throwing potions at them. And here we have early concepts of a mad toy maker, a signature type enemy similar to a Big Daddy. And as it became clear this was going to take place in a city in the sky, They started exploring ideas for a flying signature character. This is the Mothman, obviously inspired by Big Daddy. You can really see a resemblance. Further exploration of flying enemies. And these are automatic gentlemen. They are self-operating machines or automatons. A lot of these ideas made their way into designs for the motorized Patriot. And we have a chapter on Elizabeth exploring her personality through posture and clothing. Also shows the idea of her outfit becoming damaged or tattered, which did make it into the final game. I thought that was a nice touch. Her choker. Explorations of a more princess-like Elizabeth. And you also have a few pages of Elizabeth in a variety of different ages and looks. I counted about 75 different looks. And as the real Elizabeth took shape, it says the art team looked to comic books and animated films for inspiration when it came to designing her features. These are things you probably wouldn't find out about unless you read this book. I like having a better understanding of the creative process. I'm not all that interested in the technical aspects as I am in the art and creation of what happens on paper first. I find that part fascinating. Here we have a chapter on Booker DeWitt, and the book says he changed a lot physically during development. In the beginning, he had a more thuggish, brute type build that changed into a more normal everyman build. And we have a chapter on the Songbird. It says here that Songbird is the spiritual successor to BioShock's Big Daddy, so it needed to be large, iconic, and terrifying. Variations of mechanical dragons, flying men, mythological beasts, and oversized birds were explored before settling on Songbird's look. You've got lots of detail about Songbird and the mechanical workings of his wing pack and harness. The thing about Songbird that makes him so interesting is that you don't really know what it is. Is it alive? Is it a machine? A bit of both? It's terrifying either way to think about it. It's a very mysterious character, much like Big Daddy was. You have a chapter on founders, citizens, and vox populi, concepts on Zachary Comstock, explorations of how the religious and military dressed, military uniforms and combat armor, concept art of Albert Fink, citizens of Colombia, workers and security guards of Fink Manufacturing, and some really interesting concepts of these half-man, half-machine industrial slaves. When you think you got it bad at work, think of this guy. Crazy. Cornelius Slate, Vox Populi, and various concept art of Daisy Fitzroy. Mobile bullhorns and heavy armor. Pretty awesome concept art in here. And some nice shots of Daisy. Here we have a chapter on heavy hitters, the motorized Patriot. These are my favorite heavy hitters, automatons of our founding fathers, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and Abraham Lincoln. Only a rational would have thought to turn these guys into century units. It's genius. The Boys of Silence, which I think They are the most terrifying enemy in the game, not only because of the helmet, but because of the fact they're children. Colombia is nuts. The handyman, and some awesome concept art and breakdown of his mechanics. This guy is a monster. Chapter on advertisements and propaganda. It's a collection of signs and advertisements you come across in the environment and city of Colombia. Signs for some of the Vigors. Industrial signs. Advertisement for Dimwit and Duke. And we have a chapter on Vigors. The Vigor bottles went through numerous texture changes, but it looks like they're made primarily of glass and different metals. Steel, copper, gold. Very elaborate looking designs. Vigor junkies. Early concepts of how Vigors could transform those that were addicted or relied too much on their power. You've got a chapter on the Skyhook. The earlier versions of the Skyhook were intended for transportation only, and then later evolved into a weapon. You've got some pretty gruesome concepts of what the Skyhook can do to somebody here. Chapter on weapons and airships. A ton of work went into the detail and textures for the weapons to give them that old-fashioned 1912 look and feel. You have some detailed notes on a few of the weapons, the different parts, how the barrel moves when it fires, and how you can adjust the different scopes. You've got a section on airships, simple transportation vessels, flagships of the founders, and sketches of the First Lady, the airship Comstock built for his wife. And you also have some sketches and concepts for the Zeppelin-mounted turrets. And the last chapter is on Colombia. It's a collection of work on the city itself. I love the artwork in this chapter. It seems the vision and scale was apparent from the beginning. Colombia is enormous. Downtown Emporia, Finkton, the Good Times Club, Plaza of Zeal. Monument Tower. And you have a couple pages stuffed with notations about the buildings and architecture. I'm going to take a guess and say this is Scott Duquette's work. He does a lot of the environment concept painting and level design for Irrational. Overall, I'm extremely satisfied with this book. It's a high quality print with tons of commentary notes and detail, an excellent collection of work spanning the creation of one of the finest games in this generation. You can purchase the Art of BioShock Infinite at a number of book retailers. I purchased mine from Amazon for around $22. I will leave the link in the description if anyone's interested. If you enjoyed this video or have any questions, feel free to rate and comment. Feel free to subscribe to Nizu Live for more unboxings, reviews, and gameplay. This is Nizu. We'll talk to you later. Take care.